Well, hi, Craig. I switched the order of these to fit them on the page. Um, with your gesture drawing there on the right, I like the feel of it. The way you're making the marks, it seems sort of loose, not uptight. Um, I would say let the figure be taller on the page, even if this is the newsprint that's 24 high. You just want to have room to work. Also, try to use the side of your charcoal or Conte. This looks to be Vine, and the assignment was actually calling for compressed charcoal or Conte crayon. Let's see, and there's a quality of detail here that's not necessary in a gesture drawing. For gesture drawing, you're going to be capturing the lights and darks, and seeing those is dependent upon the way you arrange your lighting. Now, I noticed in this sfumato drawing, the lighting is more dramatic. One thing I'd suggest is letting the shadow be dark close to the body where the cast shadow emanates. That will help it seem as though this fellow is leaning against the wall. Once more, I'd say you could draw a little bigger. This might be on the small size page, and for developed drawing like a sfumato drawing, I highly recommend drawing as large as you can on the page that you have. Okay, Alenda, I've switched yours too, so looking at the gesture drawing on the right. Hmm, Nice sense of value creating form. I think your legs are a little short here. Take a look at the canon of proportions in the top corner and compare to what you have. Also, I think you could let go of line a little more. I do see that you're using the side of your stick to add value. Um, You could do that in a less subtle way and work more quickly also. Now, with this sfumato drawing, this is really lovely. You have created a very dimensional image of the body. Um, I like your arrangement of values. There at the right side by the ribs, we can see how the value goes very dark, and then toward the top of the chest, it looks as though we've got the white of the paper. This figure seems to be short in the torso. Notice I'm suggesting, per Nicolaides, that the head and neck will be about half the height of the torso. Um, and this is a challenge when you don't draw the figure from head to toe. I recommend that early on. Well, Lindsay, I read that there's a lot going on in your personal life right now, but still, I want you to maintain your focus on class because we are almost done, and the last half week is going to be here and gone before you know it. Looking at these, especially the gesture drawing on the left, I don't have a feeling that you've been following along the reading closely. I want you to study, especially what Dorena has to say, and please make notes to yourself as you read, so you're making sense of the concepts as they're being presented. I wrote some ideas for you in the discussion. Please look there too. I'd like to see you resubmit this sfumato drawing. It's really not developed enough yet. Like, this is a good gesture drawing. It's actually got quite a lot of detail. You could work faster perhaps if you used this side of your charcoal to sweep in values kind of quickly. Um, I find it helps to manage proportions if you can get the entire figure on the page, head to toe, and hands included. One thing I like to suggest with regard to Nicolaides' canon is when he's measuring the torso, he's measuring the front of the torso from shoulder to crotch. And you'll find that the buttocks extend a little lower at the back of the torso, and so it seems longer from the back. Matthew, I know that there are canons of proportion that are put forth in our readings, but I'd also like to suggest to you this one by Nicolaides, and I'm thinking that would help you, especially when you go to tackle a standing pose, like the gesture drawing here. With a gesture drawing, the head and the leg feel as though they're in proportion. However, the torso from shoulder to crotch and the arm seem like they would belong to a figure of a larger scale. I'd like to encourage you to push value further. You're getting something here, but you'll get more if you can manage lighting so that there are obvious lights and shadows, and then try to apply value with the side of your stick. And you might prefer to use a third of a stick. Now, with this sfumato drawing, there's a lot that's really lovely here. We see the beginning of a magnificent drawing. This is not an easy pose to do with legs crossed sitting in a chair. I'd like to see a revision of this, if possible, before the end of the day. Hi, Jenny. Looking at your gesture drawing there on the right, it's quite beautiful. This is actually more a sustained drawing than a gesture one. There's a lot of attention to detail here. I especially like the back. I want you to take a look at the length of the torso in comparison to the length of the legs, right? So if we look at this little canon of proportions that I've presented, the torso would be 2 units and the leg would be 3 units. The leg's got to look longer in this case. The leg looks like it might be shorter. Now, caveat, notice that the leg is going to be measured from the outside of the hip to the heel, and the torso is measured from the shoulder to the crotch. So the torso will look a little longer from the back view because of the way the buttocks are positioned there. I want you to look more carefully at the bent knee and the heel here with the bent leg. I think you're generalizing. Now, the other drawing is quite lovely. I like to see the way that the value shifts where the knees are bent, the shins are in shadow. The child in the foreground is a lovely touch. Makes it a little hard to see the woman's figure in its entirety, though. Hi, Adam. I want to compliment you on your progress with the gesture drawing. I really feel as though you're much closer to a viable stance. In the first version, the pose looks a little awkward, like she might fall over, like she wasn't really balanced. I would encourage you to let the feet be a bit bigger, and also with regard to stance, maybe imagine yourself in the pose and think about which leg is bearing the weight. Sometimes that helps. Now, the revision on this sfumato drawing is quite good too. I do want you to look at the foot, and just a note on that, you don't always have to draw from the very same figure, or the figure need not be nude if you're drawing something like a foot. That could be added later. I want you to look at the forearm, and I'd like you to compare that to what Jenny's got with her shins on the reclining pose. See how there's a value shift after the bend in the knee. The same sort of thing could happen there at the arm with you. Hi, Latron. Your drawing was presented vertically, but I think it's intended to be horizontal. We might get a stronger feeling of sleep or the reclining figure if the figure was more horizontal. You are using the medium requested, and I like your handling of that compressed charcoal. It would be best if your figure was wearing snug-fitting clothing. Daniel, this is a great gesture drawing. It's very developed. I'm wondering about the length of the arm. Generally, the arm from shoulder to wrist is going to be about as long as the torso is. Now, your second drawing, this sfumato one, this could be developed more. Understand that with this sfumato technique, not only will we erase, but we'll add, starting with vine, and finally, perhaps some compressed charcoal or black conte to add the darkest darks. I'd like to see you revise this sfumato drawing. This should be the more lengthy, developed drawing for the week. Hi, Matt. I think I looked at both of these in the draft phase. I think you posted them as drafts, but perhaps you didn't get around to revising them. So I'd encourage you to go back and take a look at what I noted there. Oh, actually, I did just find the draft for the gesture, and it is different. One thing that I still see, though, is what looks to me like an indication of the flank pad of the external oblique there by the hip, and this is a feature that's prominent in the male figure but not in the female one.